Center for the Ethiopian Educational Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on the roles of bacteria in the ecosystem. In our last lesson, we learned how to classify bacteria. We discussed why classifying bacteria is useful to scientists. We determined that bacteria are classified either by shape or by a Gram stain. A Gram stain is a test that stains bacteria to establish if they are Gram positive or Gram negative. Today, we will discuss the roles of bacteria in the ecosystem. We will learn how bacteria are involved in recycling nutrients and how they are involved in different cycles within the environment. I am ready to begin the lesson if you are, students. Often, when we think of bacteria, we associate them as contaminants or as the causes of illness or death. Although it is true that some bacteria have negative effects on us and on our environment, they also have plenty of useful roles as well. In the global ecosystem, bacteria play a very crucial role. The ecosystem actually depends upon the activity of bacteria to maintain stability and to thrive. Many bacteria are decomposers. This means that bacteria break down the complex molecules found in the bodies of dead organisms. These molecules are broken down into much simpler molecules. Some of the simple molecules are used by bacteria for their own metabolism. In the process, bacteria release minerals in various forms back into the environment. Elements found in the ecosystem, such as carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus, undergo a cyclic process. This means that they occur in cycles. The bacteria are responsible for helping these cycles progress. Today, we are going to look at two cycles within the ecosystem in which bacteria play a crucial role: nitrogen and carbon. Let us begin with the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is a common element found in many important organic molecules in living organisms. It is in DNA, RNA, and proteins, just to name a few. Once organisms die, it is important that the nitrogen they contain becomes available for other organisms that require the element. Bacteria are involved in recycling nitrogen from dead organisms and releasing it back into the ecosystem. We will discuss 4 main types of bacteria that are involved in this process. First, nitrogen-fixing bacteria fixes nitrogen gas into forms that other organisms can use. Next, ammonifying bacteria break down proteins in dead organisms and animal waste. This releases ammonium ions, which can be converted into nitrates. Nitrifying bacteria are involved in the next step. Nitrification is the biological oxidation of ammonia with oxygen into nitrite, followed by the oxidation of these nitrites into nitrates. Nitrification is a 2-step process. Bacteria known as Nitrosomonas convert ammonia and ammonium to nitrite. Next, bacteria called Nitrobacter finish the conversion of nitrite to nitrate. The last step involves denitrifying bacteria. Nitrates are further reduced to nitrogen gas. The nitrogen is returned to the air and reduces the amount of nitrogen in the soil. To summarize, bacteria recycle nitrogen. They add nitrogen to the biological cycle and then removes nitrogen from the biological cycle. Students, let us do an activity to review what we have just learned. Can you name the 4 bacteria involved in the nitrogen cycle? You may begin the activity now.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello again, everyone. I trust that activity was not too difficult. The 4 bacteria are nitrogen-fixing bacteria, ammonifying bacteria, nitrifying bacteria, and denitrifying bacteria. Were you able to name all 4? If so, well done. Now, let us move on to discuss the sulfur cycle. Sulfur is found in fewer types of organic molecules than nitrogen. However, it is found in more proteins. There are 3 stages in the sulfur cycle. The first stage is decomposition. Under anaerobic conditions, the bacteria Desulfovibrio work to release sulfur from the proteins of dead matter as hydrogen sulfide. This is what gives sulfur the rotten egg smell. Next, photosynthetic sulfur bacteria oxidize hydrogen sulfide to release sulfur under anaerobic conditions. In the final stage, non-photosynthetic sulfur bacteria oxidize sulfur into sulfate ions under aerobic conditions. This way, sulfur recycles in nature. For our last activity, students, can you identify the 3 steps involved in the sulfur cycle? You may begin now.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up! Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. I am sure this was a simple activity for you. The first step is decomposition. In this step, sulfur is released from proteins in dead material as hydrogen sulfide. In the second step, hydrogen sulfide is oxidized to release sulfur. The third step involves the oxidization of sulfur into sulfate ions. Did you answer all 3 steps correctly? Great work, everyone. Bacteria are essential for the cycling of these elements and many others. If populations of bacteria were reduced, it would upset the cycles and, therefore, upset the balance of the ecosystem. If these cycles did not occur, other living organisms and the environment would be greatly affected. This brings us to the end of another lesson. Today, we learned about the role of bacteria in the ecosystem. We discussed how bacteria are essential to the balance of the environment. We took a closer look at the nitrogen and sulfur cycle to demonstrate how bacteria function. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.